guys, so welcome to today's class. The purpose of our core restore class is to give you the optimal components necessary for the ribs to move well as the pelvic floor to be reactive and to control the ground. So in this set, we're going to do two segments, one involving our feet, kind of our hips, one involving the movement of our ribs, and at the same time, we're really going to build our hamstrings and our core. So stay tuned and just follow along. These segments are going to be timed, so just follow the loop movements along with me. For these circuits, you're going to need a yoga block and your full effort. All right, so for our workout today, this is all about foot pressures. And what I mean by that is there are gonna be certain exercises where I'm gonna cue you to get really heel heavy without losing the rest of your foot. And there are certain exercises where I'm gonna cue you to load right behind your big toe, kind of right in this area, in order to push off, okay? And so this is gonna be really key to kind of teaching your pelvic floor to load, as well as teaching your pelvic floor to push off. Each of these exercises is going to be for 30 seconds. And I'm just gonna say stop and go. So for our first exercise, we're going to get very heel heavy. I'm gonna get a slight bend in my knee. I can either be in a retro step position or my foot can be off the ground. We're gonna do chopping and I'm gonna try to move you off of your heel. Okay, so my goal for you is to stay on your heel. So here we go. All right, so we're gonna get a slight bend in our knee. And we're gonna start by just kind of keeping the weight in the center of your heel. Okay, just following along with me, okay? Trying to stay back, okay? So trying to really press that heel on the ground. You really start to feel your hamstring kind of move. Kind of just follow along with these movements I'm doing with my hands here. Try not to lose the foot, and if you do, that's fine. But again, just try to recover. Keep that slight bend in your knee. Let your hamstrings kind of do that work to keep you on the ground. All right, so we're gonna go ahead and hit the other side. You might feel a lot of heaviness in this leg, in your hamstring, and just in your legs in general, and that's fine. So again, you can either be here or here. I just want you to think about your weight is a little bit further back in your heel. Press that heel into the ground, stay nice and anchored. Don't let this block move you out of position. Okay, so we're just trying to stay heel heavy, trying to not let the foot kind of collapse to the inside or the outside. I can go slower to make this easier. I can go faster to make it harder. This is really challenging my, kind of my body's ability to stabilize, but also the ability of my hamstrings and the stuff that loads my pelvic floor to control. All right, so now for this next exercise, we're gonna get very kind of forefoot heavier, right behind that space right behind the big toe. And what I'm gonna do is just lean into this area. Okay, getting very heavy, kind of right here behind the ball of my foot. And what I'm doing are just fast heel taps. Okay, so I'm just going like this. I can start slowly. I'm trying to get super heavy in this portion of my forefoot. I'm just starting by tapping my heel, okay? Just getting heavy in that area, okay? And just really moving as slowly or as quickly as I can. Okay, you're gonna feel your calves, your hamstrings, all types of stuff here, but I'm just trying to stay super heavy in this area, moving as quickly as I can. And again, we're just training your hamstrings, stuff behind your leg, your butt, all that stuff to load and then contract quickly, okay, for different changes in, movement or in your singing. So we're gonna load here. Again, we're just gonna start by moving slowly, start to tap the ground slowly. Keep your weight in that area. Think about being super heavy behind your big toe. And then as you're able to, just start to speed it up. And for me, it's much harder on this right side. I don't have as much coordination, so it's gonna be, kind of harder for me to control. But again, I'm just doing what I can, trying to stay fixed over this leg. All right, now, for this last exercise, we're just gonna put everything together by just doing some basic, what I call hopping, okay? So we're gonna do what is called a 4 square hop, and we're going to try to stay keeping our heels off the ground. So it looks like this. So kind of getting all that stuff that we just worked on to be reactive and kind of push away from the ground. Just working on building as much athleticism as possible, working on getting that control. Got about 10 seconds, you guys are doing great. All right, guys, great job. Now, we're gonna go back through that stuff one more time. I'm just gonna make it a little bit more interesting. So again, I can either be in this sort of retro step stance where I'm pushing myself back in my heel, or I can keep my foot off the ground. All right, now I'm gonna start by chopping for just about 10 seconds, but now I'm just gonna reach down and come up. Okay, just again, trying to stay heavy, trying to not let my leg loading my heel, exploding up. And you can see what happens if I move too quickly. Okay, I lose my heel. I want to come on my toes. I want to collapse off of this thing. Okay, so I'm trying to use different movements to try to force my muscles to stabilize, hold me there, load properly. Okay, so here we go on this side. Again, let's keep a slight bend in the knee. Again, get that pressure. We can either be here or we can be off the ground. So let's just start by chopping. You can do different movements with your arms as well. And let's reach and come up. And again, what I notice is I want to go to the outside of my right foot. That's where my weight wants to be. So I have to place a little bit more weight on the inside to stay heel heavy, not let my whole foot move as a unit. I want to get those small movements in my foot. All right, now for our next drill, we're going to do what I call some pull-throughs. Okay, so with pull-throughs, we'll start with our heel taps, but keeping a slight bend in your knee, what we're going to do is actually simulate what happens when we push off. So I'm going to start by doing our heel taps. Now, load it, step through. Load it, push through that spot, step through. So it's almost like I can exhale as I do it as well. It's almost like I load, I push away from the ground, but I'm using my hamstrings to kind of like reins on my pelvis to kind of control that movement and kind of get that good force going on. So again, let's lean into this thing. Let's get super heavy over this. And again, if some of this stuff is a little bit more too advanced, just go at the pace and go at the variation that you're able to. So with this one, I know on my right side, I have to move a little bit slower. So I'm staying heavier over that side. I'm tapping. And then I'm just gonna move a little bit slower in my pull through. My goal with this is to get weight right behind my big toe, to keep my knee bent without trying to kind of teach my body to push through, as opposed to my foot turning out like a broken shopping cart wheel here. So we're almost there. Again, just working that knee bend. All right, and we're just gonna finish up with what I call some split exchanges. We're almost there. We're almost there. We've got 30 seconds. So with the split exchange, it's gonna look like this. Just trying to stay off my feet here. I'm trying to stay off my heels rather. Trying to make it as bouncy and as athletic as possible. Just kind of building that stiffness in order to get off the ground. Got 10 seconds. You can incorporate arm movements as well if you so desire. All right, guys, great job. On to our next circuit. This circuit is going to focus a lot more on sort of the control of the rib cage, specifically opening and closing the rib cage at different rates. And the focus here as well, muscle-wise, is obliques. Okay, we want to use our internal, our external obliques to really control our rib cage, as opposed to our rectus abdominis, which just kind of crunches everything down. So that's why a lot of this stuff that we're going to do is going to involve rotating, turning, and that kind of thing. All right. So each of these exercises is going to be 30 seconds. Just follow along with me. All right. So here we go. For our first exercise here, we're going to get our knees off the ground. Okay, we're going to take a deep breath in as we try to pull our hands apart. And then exhale as I squeeze the block. Bring my hands together, sort of put pressure. As if I'm slowly sort of trying to crush a fly that kind of is a little bit hard to crush. Inhale through the nose, hard exhale as we come together. Really close those ribs one more time. All right, so for our next exercise here, we're gonna start a bent leg side plank. Okay, and we can either go bent leg or straight leg, but I like to use this first round kind of as like our warm up for a hard round. So for this exercise, I'm gonna bridge up, or I'm gonna come up into this position. I'm gonna push away from the ground. I'm gonna breathe in, and then just exhale, and then come under. Breathe in, rotate in. Exhale, rotate out. And really focusing on sort of rotating around this down rib. So inhale, and exhale. Trying to move the arm a little bit before the head. All right, we're gonna switch sides. One of the big benefits of this particular movement as well that I really like is it's really good for neck pain as well as shoulder pain because it helps everything to kind of restore rotation and open up spaces in the front and in the back. Just gonna breathe in and exhale. As I'm coming under, think about loading my elbow, and as I come over, and this elbow is what I'm talking about, I'm thinking about pushing hard to the ground with this down arm to try to push me this way. So I'm compressing these ribs, opening these ribs. Exhale. All right, we're gonna finish up with a wide stance bear crawl. So we can either do this on our knees, or we can do this with our knees off the ground. The key is that we're not shrugging your shoulders as you're doing it. You're able to keep your shoulder blades pushed apart to some degree. And with this, because my hands are wide, I'm thinking about kind of having my hands on the outside of the mat, so that creates a little bit extra width. You can kind of see my knees are a little bit further apart. This is really gonna help me to focus on my obliques as opposed to my rectus. It's also gonna help to kind of keep things, make things a little bit easier. The more I kind of bring my hands together, the more focalized that's going to be sort of on my chest, which is not necessarily what I'm looking for here. So now we're going to go back to our first exercise, and this is what I call your money round because we're going to make this one a little bit harder. I'm going to show you how to do that. And this time what we're going to do is squeeze the block between our knees, but we're going to extend the legs out to the point where it's challenging to keep my back on the ground doable. Just going to breathe in. You can see I'm shaking a little bit with that. That's good. That shows me that I'm challenging myself, but at the same time, I'm picking just the right level of difficulty to get some abdominal adaptation, as well as the right effect using my abs versus my back. All right, so now for this next one, for our side plank, I'm going to straighten my legs out, okay? And I'm going to stack my top leg in front of my bottom leg, okay? And I'm going to hold on to this thing and I'm going to squeeze as I rotate in order to create a little bit more tension. So we're here, I inhale, and I'm squeezing the block as I rotate around. Inhale and exhale. Let's go long inhale through the nose, and then long exhale through the mouth. Holding in this position, getting all the air out. All right, let's just switch sides. One thing you'll notice, you'll know if you're doing this one the right way because you will feel it in your abs versus like your shoulder or your neck, okay? If you do feel that, I want you to bend your knees, okay? When we have good abdominal control and contraction, that's gonna take pressure off of our shoulder and our neck because these muscles help to open and close the rib cage, and so our accessory breathing muscles don't have to do as much, which is what we're looking for. So challenge yourself, but again, kind of respect what your body's telling you. All right, and last but not least, we have the crawls, and I want to kind of show you this time. You see how wide my legs are, and you see how wide my hands are. The wider we go, the more challenging it's going to be, but also the more abdominal control and obliques we're going to require here. So again, kind of put your eyes about 5 degrees in front of you, and again, you do feel your neck or your shoulders doing work, maybe your upper traps or something, and I want you to come down to your knees All right, I want you to slow down a little bit because, again, this is a sign that we're not actually using our abs as much as we are, some muscles that want to compensate. All right, guys, you are all done. Hopefully that gave you a little bit of stuff that you can use. This stuff is really good as a warm-up before you sing, more of an extensive warm-up, as well as just a general training circuit. I really like these a couple times a week for my singers. It just kind of keeps everything moving, keeps all of the right muscles activated. But give these a try. Please let us know how you like them.